The Canon 50mm f1.2L USM has been an extremely popular lens over the 12 years that it's been on the market. Over that time, it's been used by photographers and filmmakers who praise it for its versatile focal length and bokeh, but Canon have needed to update this lens for a while now. This is where the new 50mm f1.2L USM RF comes in. Canon announced this new lens alongside the USR a few months back, and we finally have our copy. I've used this lens several times now, but today we are going to be comparing it to the trusty EF version. If you are buying an L series lens, you know what to expect when it comes to build quality and weather sealing. Both of these lenses are built extremely well, but the RF version has a more modern Canon aesthetic than the older EF version. The new 50mm is a much bigger and heavier lens, weighing in at 950 grams versus 580 grams of the original, and measuring at 10.8 centimeters in length versus 6.5. But this is due to the different optical design. The new RF lens consists of 15 elements in 9 groups, whereas the EF only has 8 elements in 6 groups. The RF also has a new iris consisting of 10 blades versus the 8 of the EF lens. The close focus has also been improved with the new lens from 0.45 meters to 0.4 meters. They both have filter threads, which are 77mm on the RF and 72mm on the EF. One thing you have gained though is the new control ring, which is on the front of the lens. This is one of the best new features of the EOS R system. For video, this can be declicked by Canon and can then be used for smooth iris pulls. Both lenses will cover your full frame sensor, but if you're shooting video on the EOS R, you won't be able to take advantage of that larger image circle. So for our tests, we decided to shoot in 1080p. We recorded the video externally using a Ninja 5. We shot in 25p, 1/50th of a second, ISO 200, 400, 800 and 1600 in ProRes 42HQ at 1080p. Wide open, both lenses suffer from elliptical shape bokeh towards the edges of frame, with the RF handling it slightly better towards the center. The RF's bokeh is extremely clean with some edge definition. The EF has a more defined edge with hints of green aberrations. Wide open, both lenses also suffer from subtle onion skinning. This is almost gone past f2 on the RF, but on the EF this character is more obvious when stopping down. At f2.8 onwards, you can really start to see the difference the 2 extra aperture blades makes to the shape of the bokeh. The RF renders more circular bokeh than the EF because of it. Both lenses suffer from breathing, but there is way more on the new RF lens. Wide open, the EF flares beautifully with a soft ring flare throughout the frame. When stopped down, this character changes into a more subtle flare. The RF controls flare very differently to the EF. Wide open, the flare is very subtle but large. When stopped down, the large flare reduces in size and becomes more defined. Both lenses suffer from light loss towards the corners, but the EF has slightly more. However, stopped down to f2.8, this is reduced almost completely on both lenses. Both lenses control distortion very well, and there's almost none. The RF is one of the sharpest 50mm I have ever seen wide open. Seriously, this thing is a monster wide open. Even in the corners, sharpness holds up incredibly well. Stop down to f2 onwards, it's insane. But with the crazy sharpness comes a downside, which is the increased micro contrast over the older EF lens. This may be a concern for anyone shooting portraits with these lenses, as this may look a little unflattering. Shooting wide open with the EF lens is a very different story. As you can see with this side by side, the difference in sharpness is easy to spot. The EF is not soft by any stretch, but it's nowhere near the level of the RF lens wide open. The EF does sharpen up nicely around f2.8 or f4, but it's still nowhere near the RF counterpart. You can also see a difference in chromatic aberration produced by the 2 lenses. Wide open, they both exhibit CA, but the EF produces less of it. The new RF is slightly warmer than the original EF lens, which is already known for its warm tones. One major difference between the old and new lenses is the focusing systems. All of Canon's new RF lenses are focused by wire. Normally, when you turn a focus ring, this is mechanically connected to the inside of the lens, so as you turn the focus ring, glass inside the lens moves to adjust your focus. With focus by wire, there is no mechanical connection, and the rotation of the focus ring is measured electronically and then translated into movement from a motor. The issue with this system means that when manual focusing, you can run into a few issues, like the lack of hard stops. There was also no focus distance scale on the new RF lens, however one does show up on the back of the camera when you're in manual focus mode. Also, when manual focusing, the speed is variable depending on how fast you turn the focus ring. This is a typical issue with focus by wire lenses, but something that Canon could easily fix in a software update. You also have no manual focus override when in continuous AF, whereas you do with the EF version. Obviously, at the moment, this lens only works on the EOS R, and the EOS R does work around some of these issues with software features like manual focus assist, peaking, and Canon's incredible DAF. So if you are planning on using it with the EOS R, it really does work very well, but it's not perfect. The EF lens uses a traditional focusing system, so you have semi-hard stops, a focus distance scale, and a decent focus throw for a stills lens of 152 degrees. In regards to AF performance, the RF lens is slightly faster, but the EF lens is still very decent for an adapted lens. So, what do you take away from this? Well, Canon users have been screaming for an updated 50mm for years now, but I'm not sure this is what people were really after. I really am hoping that Canon introduces more mirrorless stills and C-series cameras with the RF mount, so these new RF lenses can gain more versatility on the market. But for now, if you want a 50mm for your shiny new EOS R with fantastic image quality, insane sharpness, fast autofocus and great build quality, the new RF 50mm may be the lens for you. Or if you want to save yourself some money, don't mind a minor drop in AF performance and are happy to stop down to f2 for comparable performance, the EF50 is still an awesome piece of glass. Let us know which lens you prefer in the comments below and make sure you hit subscribe.